Clerk will call the roll.
Lynn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Bickens, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Carlos J. Craig, who is with the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Alvarado, Texas. Welcome, sir. Thank you for coming out. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Judge Whitley and Commissioners, it's a privilege to be here to offer the invocation this morning. May God bless you in your work today. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we just come before you and pause this morning to thank you for life and health, and thank you for all the blessings that you shower upon us. And we just would pause to invite your presence into this place and to ask your blessing upon Judge Whitley, the commissioners, all those who have business here today, that it may be conducted according to your holy will and divine purpose, and that your blessing may bless each one that's in this courtroom today. Thank you for your presence, your blessing, the promise of your continued presence with us today. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have two announcements today. The first is, as it relates to the agenda, is under the Purchasing Department, item 8H4. This is RFP number 2016-104. There's revised court communication in your folders this morning. And then finally, Your Honor, just on the agenda, we have two public hearings today. And we also, this afternoon at 2 p.m. in the Family Law Center, we have the IT Steering Committee. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of August the 14th.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have before you our consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion is second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Public hearings. We have a couple of public hearings today. Mr. Maines.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, if we could go to the public hearings. So we'll start with item 7A. We're requesting that the Commissioners' Court do the following. This morning we ask that you conduct a public hearing regarding the tax year 2018 tax rate for Tarrant County government, and also to announce the date, time, and place of the vote on the tax rate, which is as follows. That vote will occur September 11th, 2018 at 10 a.m. in the morning in the County Administration Building, 100 East Weatherford. As it relates to the benchmark tax rates for FY18, the effective tax rate is .230119 per $100 valuation. The rollback is .248133 per $100 valuation. The current tax rate is .244 per $100 valuation. And our proposed tax rate, which is a tax rate decrease from the current year, would be .234 per $100 valuation.
This is a public hearing, and so I would ask at this time, is there anyone here wishing to speak to this matter? There being none, then we will close this public hearing.
Members of the Court, just a note as it relates to that particular activity, we'll have another public hearing as it relates to the county tax rate on September 4th, which is in 2 weeks. Members of the Court, if we could now go to item 7B. This is a public hearing concerning the Tarrant County Hospital District's tax rate for tax year 2018. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court do the following. conduct a public hearing regarding the tax year 2018 tax rate for Tarrant County Hospital District, and announce the date, time, and place of the vote of the tax rate, which is as follows. That vote will occur on September 11th, 2018 at 10 a.m. in the morning in the Tarrant County Administration Building, which is located at 100 East Weatherford Street here in Fort Worth, Texas. As it relates to the tax rate, the benchmark rates for the hospital district are as follows. The effective tax rate is .213546 per $100 valuation. The rollback rate is .230503 per $100 valuation. The current tax rate is .224429 per $100 valuation. And the proposed tax rate is the same as the current tax rate, which is .224429 per $100 valuation.
This is a public hearing. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this. Hearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing.
Just a comment as it relates to that action also, we will be conducting a second public hearing here in the courtroom on September 4th.
Mr. Raines?
Excuse me. Members of the court, if we could now go to the administrator section. On item 8A1, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court repeal the prohibition against outside burning in the unincorporated areas of Tarrant County.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
On the second item, Ms. McMillan is going to make that presentation.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. The Commissioners Court is being asked to approve the use of tax-exempt education revenue bonds issued by the Clifton Higher Education Finance Corporation in the maximum principal amount of $220 million to be used by IDEA Public Schools to finance improvements for certain educational facilities, including some located in Tarrant County. IDEA Public Schools is a charter school with facilities in El Paso, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, the Rio Grande Valley, Southern Louisiana, and planned facilities for Tarrant County. The bonds will be used to finance costs of acquiring, constructing, and equipping educational facilities, including the new locations in Tarrant County located at South Cherry Lane in Fort Worth and at Thomas Road in Haltom City. These campuses will be opening in the 2019-2020 school year. In order for this transaction to qualify as tax exempt, the IRS code requires that the governmental entity in which the facility is located must approve the issuance. This is solely for the tax exempt status for the IRS code. IDEA Public Schools has provided a letter stating that they are aware of our HUD policy and they will work to follow that, and there is no need to have any restrictions on the property. So we're asking for your approval.
Who the heck are these people?
Well, they actually, they're headquartered in Weslaco, Texas. They have the majority of their schools right now are in the Rio Grande Valley and in San Antonio. And they are expanding. This will be their first expansion into Tarrant County. And by 2022, they're looking at having 173 schools around the state of Texas.
Is this similar to Harmony?
I'm sorry?
I wonder if it's similar to what Harmony
Like
Academy
Harmony
is doing.
or the International ILA, same type of program.
I move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Glenn?
Move approval of personnel agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Glenn.
Good morning, that County 20
Good
staff.
morning.
Mr. Beecham?
6-round trip.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You going to tell them that we're almost like kind of cousins now?
No.
Okay.
I just have to admit that one of my bonus grandchildren decided to go out of state and go to this hillbilly school in Fayetteville. And so they brought back a decal, but I'll be damned if that decal's going on my truck.
Did either one of y'all's teams make the top 25 preseason?
I don't know. Is yours?
TCU.
Well, I think we got to win TCU.
No.
Not yet.
It's one thing to make it at the beginning, it's another thing to be there at the end.
Better than Christmas in July. We have 3 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2018-076, signing a contract for trash removal services. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to Allied Waste Services of Fort Worth.
Move for approval.
Second.
Our motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 is another bid award recommendation for bid 2018-128. This is a bid for concrete repairs at the 350 Belknap parking garage. Recommendation would be to award the low bidder, Mid-Continental Restoration Company Incorporated, in amount of $165,800. If the court chooses to approve this, we're seeking contract approval and acceptance of the payment and the performance bond.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Last item number 3 is a bid award recommendation for bid 2018-141, signing a contract for reinforced concrete pipe, concrete box culverts, and safety end treatments. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, a discount from list price, awarding certain items in sections 1 through 10 to Forterra Pipe and Precast.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I did tell him that he might, if he didn't want to be kind of called out and, looked at a little bit differently, he might have to learn to kind of go around barefooted.
And stay away from his cousins.
He said that. Are there any appointments today? I would like to move reappointment of Moji Haddad to NTTA. His term is up at the end of this month, and he's doing a fantastic job. And
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Nope, we got the claims. I guess we better pay those. The auditor will get a little upset if we don't.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Mayes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 2 items that we'd like to bring to you this morning. The first one is a briefing concerning the creation of a Public Safety Employees Treatment Court Program. Judge Vanover is here to address the court at this time.
You brought a few folks with you.
Welcome, Judge.
Good morning. Good morning, Judge Whitley,
morning.
Commissioners. Thank you for having us this morning. Specifically, what I came to talk to you about was there's legislation that was passed in 2017 authorizing a Public Safety Employees Treatment Court program. This program would be modeled after it's House Bill 3391. It was basically a Tarrant County bill. It was authored by State Representative Guerin and then carried in the Senate by Senator Birdwell. And what HB 3391 does, it authorizes, as I said, a Public Safety Employees Treatment Court. It's modeled after the Veterans Court treatment program. And so what we're focusing on with this, or what we're proposing to focus on with this court, is not necessarily to save a bad cop or save a bad firefighter, as nobody wants a bad cop or bad firefighter, but what we're focusing on is the treatment of a otherwise good police officer, firefighter, or other first responder that through the line of their work has been diagnosed with some type of PTSD, as we're seeing both literally and figuratively attacks on our first responders. Not only do they have to do with the stresses of the job of what they see on a day in, day out basis, but also the violence in the community that's directed towards them because of their profession. As I said, it was signed into law by Governor Abbott. It became effective 1 September 2017. It's found in Chapter 129, Subtitle K and Title II of the Government Code, which is the Specialty Court Program title. We expect that this program, if approved, will bring no additional cost to Tarrant County, as it is such a small population that current staffing levels are sufficient to man the docket. I'll be the supervising judge of the court. And I want to touch on a few points about what the program entails. As we've known, specialty courts are gaining traction not only within the state of Texas, but also nationwide as a way of reducing recidivism and also ensuring a greater public safety at a lesser cost to the community than incarceration. So the requirements for this program would be an offense committed on or after September 1, 2017. And so the justice-involved public safety officer, they would have to choose to participate to go through the traditional justice system or attempt to go through the program. Now, there is a gatekeeping function on this, and I've been working with our DA, Sharon Wilson, on this. Just like the Veterans Court program, which this is modeled after, the DA's office is the gatekeeper as to the people that are able to participate in the program. Myself as the judge would have no control over who comes into the program. I just administer and run the program. The DA's office would be the gatekeeper as to who comes into the program. And once again, through my talks with Sharon, as I said, the goal of the program is not to save a good cop or a bad cop or a bad firefighter. It's to address treatment issues for an otherwise good officer or good firefighter that's run into issues. The defendant must be a current or public safety employee who suffered from a brain injury, mental illness, or mental disorder. And this is, once again, where we're talking about the PTSD type issues. And that occurred during or resulted from their duties as a public safety employee and affected the criminal conduct at issue. And so, obviously, with PTSD, you see a lot of self-medication through alcohol, or you see sometimes some violent tendencies. And so we want to address and correct that. Additionally, there's another category if someone whose participation in the program is likely to achieve the objective of ensuring public safety, they would also, once again, be eligible. Comparison, as I said, comparing this to the Veterans Treatment Court program, which I have familiarity with. Judge Carr started the program in Tarrant County in 2010. And then as the program kept growing, there was such a need with our returning veterans that I stood up a second docket. So between the two of us, we run one of the largest Veterans Court programs in the state. And so here's some numbers for you. Since 2010, we've had 358 people admitted. We've graduated 244. We've had 32 unsuccessful discharges. We have 82 people currently in the program. And this is one of the numbers that we're very proud of, and I think we'll see a similar, if not better, number with this proposed program. 7% recidivism rate, compared to a general population of anywhere from 30 to 60, 70%, depending on the formulas you look at.
When there's on the unsuccessful discharges, does that just mean they go back into the system and they go through it just as if nothing?
Well, so in order to get into the Veterans Treatment Court program or this program, a defendant actually enters a plea of guilt.
Okay. That
plea is deferred and they're placed in the program. Upon successful completion of the program, the DA's office dismisses the case, okay, and they get their case expunged. If they are unsuccessfully discharged, they are sent back for adjudication, and they are punished appropriately at that time. And this is something I want to point out too. Under the cost comparisons, confinement costs, and our sheriff is here, can verify these numbers. About $75 a day to incarcerate someone in Sheriff Waburn's Iron Bar Hotel. That comes out to $27,375 per year per inmate. And then if we're talking about people with mental issues, it can double or triple depending on how severe. This is the Veterans Treatment Court program costs, and like I said, it should be very similar. we're talking about $6.65 per person.
That per month?
That's a daily cost with a yearly participation cost of $2,400 as compared to $27,000 per year. So as you can see by the numbers, not only, and as I said, I expect a similar, if not better, recidivism rate. So we're lowering recidivism at a much cheaper cost per individual basis, and definitely dramatically cheaper than keeping them incarcerated. So what I'm asking of Commissioners Court is I'm asking for authorization to establish the Public Safety Employees Treatment Court Program as authorized under the Government Code in Chapter 121. And I'm happy to answer any questions from Judge Whitley or the Commissioners.
You want to introduce the people that are here with you today?
Yes, obviously, our DA, Sharon Wilson, is here. She is an integral part of this program. As I said, she and her office will be the gatekeepers as to, once again, ensuring that we're not putting in bad people for a good outcome or bad people for a bad outcome. So she's here. Also, we have Manny Ramirez from the Fort Worth Police Officer Association, and from Fort Worth Fire Association. I'll let you introduce your people as well, with former President of POA Rick Van Houten. We have Carolyn Gilmore here. And, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at your name.
Cameron Brown.
Okay, Miss Brown is a former firefighter, but she is also a professor at TCU and goes out and deals with families of first responders dealing with PTSD issues. And in all honesty, this is an area that's very close to my heart. Prior to becoming an attorney, I was a police officer, firefighter, and EMT.
And you went to the dark side.
Then I became an attorney. But she was one of the people. I had when I was on SWAT, I had a partner that was killed in the line of duty, and it was a tragic event for all of us. And our department was kind of at the cutting edge of addressing critical stress issues. And so she came out and talked to us, and we worked. When I say us, I'm talking about all the SWAT teammates and all the people that were involved with that situation. So. So she's been involved in the treatment of that, and she may have a word or two about what all she does with that. But those are the people that are here, and I think they're all here to ask again for your support in this endeavor.
Judge, I think that we are all in favor of assisting good officers and good firefighters, but that's a very subjective judgment about who's good and who's not. My concern about this program is that it not be used to help officers escape responsibility in, say, a bad shooting. There's an officer from Balch Springs on trial now for a questionable shooting. I would hope that this program would not be used to help officers in that situation escape the consequences of having shot somebody they shouldn't have shot.
And Commissioner, I do agree with you. I mean, that's not the goal of this program, and once again, that's why there is a gatekeeping function. That no one person can dictate that a situation like that would come in. And something else about the program, as I said, and I didn't bring this up because it's collateral consequences. Just because someone is in this program doesn't necessarily mean that their job is safe. That's something for the licensing, the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and TCOL to address. This has nothing. The program doesn't address their employment status or anything along those lines. And as I said, to come into the program, someone actually has to stand before me and enter a plea of guilt to whatever offense they're charged with.
I move to approve the Employees Treatment Court Program.
I second with one comment. Judge, I want to thank you and Madam DA and all of y'all for working to put together, I think, a program that is much needed. During my tenure as commissioner, I have the privilege of working with the first responders through an organization named Blue Banquet Outreach. And the mission of this nonprofit organization is to provide mental service support to all first responders in a discreet and confidential way. For whatever reason, perhaps systemic, perhaps cultural, within a certain organization, all first responders regularly suffer stress, mental anxiety, and over a long period of time, just like a muscle, it tends to break. Unfortunately, if that goes onto their medical record, their career may be in question. So this is a big issue that we need to deal with, and I think this program is a good first step in making sure that all first responders are taken care of. And I hear what my colleague is saying, and I agree with him. Sometimes it is the unintended consequence that we have to be aware of. And I know you personally. I trust your character. And I really firmly believe that this is the right program, and all the unintended consequences is going to be managed with integrity and justice. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And Commissioner, you're exactly right. This, from my time when I started in law enforcement, almost 30 years ago, you've seen a dramatic change in culture in police officers and firefighters. It was, people didn't talk about the issues that they had then, and you're seeing, just like we're seeing a change in the move towards specialty courts. There's a change in philosophy, so departments are actively encouraging people to seek assistance if they have stressed issues from the job. But thank you.
I'd like to point out that Tarrant County is a leader in specialty courts across the state. I think we've got everyone that's permissible under state law, and we probably had them before a lot of other places did.
And Commissioner, you're exactly right. And this is the one that was added that we didn't have. And I don't know that any other program has been established in the state to this point. There may be, but I think we would be the first, if not one of the first.
Well, I think we're a leader in the nation also. I mean, we're constantly being raised up for what we do in a lot of those specialty areas. So thank you very much. If there's no other discussion, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And Judge, before you sit down, for the sake of wellness in Tarrant County, can you share with us about your Olympic achievement?
So I was a collegiate athlete at a non-Hillary school at Texas A&M University. And many years ago, I set a goal for myself that when I got to the age where I could compete in the Senior Olympics, I would try to reach that goal. So I turned 50 earlier this year, and so this summer we were in Montana, and I competed in the Montana Senior Olympics, and I was able to qualify for the U.S. National Senior Olympics in several events. And,
congratulations! And what was your specialty that you participated in?
The 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, long jump, and standing long jump.
Oh my!
Wow!
And I had 4 goals to do so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Hey, my bad, hello.
I'll do it. Members of the court, we can go to item B. This is a discussion concerning the county jail population. Sheriff Wayburn is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff.
It's
Morning,
great to be in a
Sheriff.
county that seeks justice but loves mercy. And I think what you did was great, and I think that court is going to be fantastic. And we're here to talk this morning about jail population. And
we put a draft up here on the wall just to talk about what's been the trend since 2016. We went back 3 years. The interesting thing about 2016, that was the year that Michael Morton was implemented. But as you see, it has gradually gone up over the past while. And 2016, we saw a rise in about 10%, 2017, 11%. Year to date, we're seeing about an 8% rise in cases or in inmates. And if we could go to the next slide, I'm not sure how to do that. Is that right here?
Down button.
Down button.
There we go. We're there.
Yeah, that one right there. Oh, there we go. Okay. I hit it and it worked.
Go back up. Yeah.
There you go. Here's what we feel like some of the reasons are that we're seeing this fast population growth. One is obviously we're in one of the fastest growing urban counties in the country. So more people, more issues. Case filings. The DA, its office reports that they've experienced a 15% increase in case filings this year, with 17% of those being in felonious courts. We have a labor detail unit that we inherited, and what we've seen is a decrease in people, the courts using labor detail, and these people have consequently gone to jail instead of gone to our labor detail weekend program. So we've seen a significant swing there. And of course there's increased conditions of probation where they're sending them to jail a little bit. But as we talk about some of these things, some of the other relative things that are happening is one of the big deals that is happening not only in Tarrant County but across the country is the opioid epidemic, and we're not excused from that. And methamphetamine and opioids are well on the rise. In fact, we have seen last year a little over 15, nearly 16% increase in fatality overdoses in Tarrant County due to opioids. And with that said is that our jail population is driven by the drug market quite often. And sometimes that manifests itself in either property crimes or crimes against persons, and it also manifests itself in our MHMR people and people that we're seeing under MHMR. Is some other issues that are going on is, of course, the Michael Morton Act, which you've heard a great deal about, and the Sandra Bland Act, which came in, and this requires, where the Sandra Bland doesn't affect us a great deal except for the MHMR issue. We start asking questions, and more people, slows down time in booking, slows down time in housing because they have to see MHMR. And some of those people, we believe that 25% of our population at any one time is MHMR, and several of those incompetents stand trial. So we're a holding facility. We are the largest mental health facility in your county, and we have several of those people. But the Sandra Bland Act, as far as affecting us, otherwise it hasn't. It does delay some time. And the interesting note, juvenile population is also up. And when you see juvenile pop go up, you're going to see adult population going off. And here in TCSO, and I'm proud to say, our people are doing their job. We've had a 20% increase in arrest at the county level where we're out there arresting people. We also see in our CID, though, that we have about a 42% increase in cases that they're working as we speak. So as we know that there's more cases filed, and there's a tendency that we're seeing a little bit of crime come up, and crime against persons in particular, we're seeing the MHMR issue going. This is creating a jail population. Now, I'm quoting Ronald Reagan a little bit here, is when crime goes up, is that it's generally not due to having a strong law enforcement arm. In fact, it's consequently if we don't. But in Tarrant County, we've got great police agencies that are doing great jobs out there, and we believe putting folks in jail. Now, some of the things that just on a customer service level, just to let you know, is because we've had some complaints on our booking and release programs at our jail, is our average booking time is about 6 hours. You show up at the county jail, it's an average of 6 hours to get booked in. It's an average of 7 hours to be released once you made bond. So you could spend 14 or 15 hours in our custody. Now, comparative with other urban counties, such as Travis or Bear, they tell us that it takes about 24 hours to get booked into Bear and 24 hours to get released. And our friends over to the north in Collin County, which is also a fast urban growth area, do not get arrested in Collin County. It's an average of a 40-hour wait just to get booked into jail. and about 40 hours to get released. So you're going to be there for nearly 2 weeks, is what the sheriff tells me, because of their fast-growing population. In checking with all the large six, they're busting at the seams. Bexar County, Harris County, Dallas County is on the rise. Dallas County saw a great drip. They're starting to go back up. And Travis County is also seeing a rise. So we're seeing a rise across Texas. And so we're not alone as we see the jail population going up. We also have another issue, and I believe it's narcotics driven in a great deal, is we have a sicker population in our custody. And so we're seeing more people go to the hospital. Yesterday, we had 18 officers stationed at hospitals with patients, with inmates. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 inmates today on kidney dialysis. So we're seeing a sicker population than we did maybe a year ago even, or even 2 years ago. And I think it's going to be opioid driven and methamphetamine driven. And that scourge has even affected us to the point where we also have fentanyl as a threat out there, is that most agencies, and I believe Fort Worth is in this camp, we're certainly, our patrol, our narcotics teams, and other teams are trained in how to use Narcan for their own benefit, because we need that on scene, because there's an immediate reaction to that. So it's prevalent out there. And just on the narcotics trade alone, where 5 years ago we'd be talking about arresting people with ounces and maybe a kilo, today we're talking about several pounds. So the dope deal is here. And I think it's going to continue to affect, as we continue to grow, we're going to have a certain amount of our population that is in jail. Since February through, just some other comparisons real quick, from February to today, our jail population has wavered into about 3.7% has gone up. Comparative to 2016 and 2017, where in 17, in that same time period, we saw an 8%, in 2016, we saw a 9% growth in those same time periods. And we think, and I believe, that central magistration, all that it be a new system and sometimes difficult to get around, is actually working. Because what we're seeing is that we have about a 99% release rate from jail versus the old days of about a 97%. So on average, we're seeing, for instance, on an average, we see 161 people being booked into jail on a daily basis. We're seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of 159 released. So it's a give and take, as it were. We think without central magistration, our best guess is that population will probably be settling around 4,500 to 4,400. With central magistration, we're down to 4,026.
I'm not sure I understand how that could be the case.
Well, the reason for it is that as they get to central magistration, we're seeing more consistent bonds. We're seeing pretrial more active. For instance, pretrial, our number showed in pretrial in January released about 79 people.
But prior to doing this, your average pop was running around 36, 37, 3,800.
Correct.
So, as I've looked at this, and as we've kind of been talking about this over the last several months, one of the things that I hope we get to is video magistration. Mm-hmm. And I hope that means I know that means that pretrial will have to do their risk surveys prior to the time that we have the video magistration.
Right.
But, you mentioned that average booking was 6 hours book in and then 7 hours to release, but isn't a lot of times that book in occurring and then you have to wait for the magistrate, you have to wait for pretrial, wait for the magistration. So what's ended up happening is someone could very easily end up spending 2 days in jail.
We've probably seen that a few times, but generally if they're able to bond out, we get them booked in, they see a magistrate, and the bond starts getting that. 24 hours I think would be more average than.
And so again, if we could do video magistration though, and video pretrial surveys or whatever, or however that ends up being done, then they never make it down here. And I know that one of the things that JPS has said is they're spending significantly more time having to do many more of the mental health evaluations than what they've had to do in the past. And that's because, again, if you book them in, you got to do a mental health on them.
Absolutely.
From that standpoint. So I'm hopeful that to whatever extent possible, we can do the video magistration. I know it's being done all over the state.
Sure.
And so I'm hopeful that with pretrial's help and with the magistration, and we're doing video, for all intents and purposes, we're doing video magistration right now.
Right.
Because the magistrate sits one place and the prisoners are,
No question
are
about it.
nowhere near that magistrate from
Right.
that standpoint. So I'm hopeful that if we can move that area, and I know we're talking with Greg, did you?
I'm listening, sir. Do you need me up there?
I mean, I think we're working in that particular area, and I'm hopeful that we're moving toward that. I know we've done a lot of work in the last couple of months. We've talked about a survey, coming in and helping with the survey and doing some stuff along that top line. So I know we're looking at both those things.
I'm glad to hear you say, Sheriff, that central magistration is beginning to work.
I believe it is.
And central magistration, whether it's done by video or however it's done,
Absolutely.
the goal is to get people out of the jail
That need to be out. Yes, sir.
that need to be out, that qualified to be out.
Absolutely.
I'm still concerned, and I will continue to be concerned about the number of people who are in jail simply because they can't afford to write a check to get out.
Yes, sir.
That's a problem for me, and I think that's a problem for our system. Central magistration, however it's done, is one step towards dealing with that problem. But there are other steps that we need to take. We need a good assessment tool, risk assessment tool.
Yes, sir.
And until we get to the one that is a Cadillac in the industry, which is that one that the Arnold Foundation has developed, I'm not going to be satisfied.
And Commissioner, we are moving toward the Arnold Foundation.
Right.
But you know, I would add that if we get this survey done and we get to that point, then they will never be booked into jail. And that way you don't end up getting them there and then have to get them out, because that will occur if the survey is done, then they can be released.
By survey, you mean risk assessment?
Risk assessment
Yes.
survey.
Yes.
They will be released prior to the time they even get downtown.
That is the goal.
That's fine. That's
And
good.
having a mechanism that allows them to be released by some way other than writing a check or paying a bond is also part of the goal.
All reports are, Commissioner, your pretrial people are working hard.
Yes,
and doing
I
a
know
great
they
job.
are, but they're also limited by the types of offenses that they're allowed
Sure.
to address. In terms of the mental health issue, there is some work being done in this community, in this county,
Absolutely.
to create a mental health crisis diversion center.
Yes, sir.
So that mentally, people with behavioral health challenges never hit the front door of the jail either.
I think that'd be
That
great.
is a missing piece in our mental health continuum, and we're working very hard on that.
Need to make sure we add in there the detox center, because
Yes.
the detox diversion and those
Yes.
diversions would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And that would, all of what you've said is good solutions to lower that jail population on where we're at.
So we
Technology
may
gets you.
experience a temporary rise
Right.
while we're getting some other systems in place, but the overall goal is that all of this will work towards releasing people who shouldn't be in jail.
Right. And still being held accountable for their actions.
Sure.
Certainly.
Sure,
Absolutely.
sure.
And Greg, I mean, you would agree that we are moving down the line toward that video magistration and some of those types of things?
Yes, sir. I think our long-term goal in working with the judges is definitely do some type of triage, just video magistration in remote locations. There are certain people that still need to come downtown due to mental health issues or the level of crime
No question.
and public safety. But if there's a way we could triage those people at the local jails and have them set reasonable bonds or personal bonds or a pretrial bond, at that location would be the way to go before they came down. And that is the vision. We are currently trying to automate our magistration process. The goal of the judges, of course, is to be able to set bonds for everybody in the county and not allow magistrates from our city judges or JPs from outlying agencies setting those bonds. It creates a more consistent approach. And so that is a long-term vision.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Greg, before you leave, the sheriff touched on the work release program, that we have very few inmates anymore in that program. Is that because the judges have quit allowing this, or what is the reason? Because I use those work release people. I put them to work out here on the roads, and it's a good program. It's good for them. It's good for us.
I can't speak for each individual judges, but I believe that there's some policy decisions that they're making and some interpretations of the statutes that limit who could go there, and so I think it's a reflection of that. But I will go back. We're having a judges meeting. I will ask them directly to get an answer.
Yeah, if you review that with the judges, I would appreciate it.
By the way, in reference to narcotics, for the first time in Tarrant County history, we do have Narcotic Anonymous in our jail, and we do have people participating in that. We're trying to set the table for these people that are there that they don't come back.
Very good.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Sheriff.
You bet.
Your Honor, that's all we have this morning. I believe we do have one audience participation.
Yes, Dave, come on up. Dave McElwee, please, as you come forward, go ahead and give us your name and address again. Go ahead and do that. And
Dave McElwee, 1133 West Inwood in Arlington. Got a compilation of questions here from some citizens in Arlington related to the JPS program. These folks are worker bees, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, bricklayers. Some of them are retirees. They don't usually go to these sort of settings. Give you an idea how long it's been since I've been here. It was Judge Vandergriffen was here the last time I was over here, so it gives you an idea. We don't get around a few years ago. So all my questions, I got about 11 of them here.
Now let me interrupt you before you get started, because we don't have the bond thing on so you realize we can't respond to your questions. But what we'll do is we'll take those and we'll give them to Mr. Manius, and then we'll try to get back with you with some answers for those. Well, if you've been here last week, we could have responded, because that's when we voted on that, but unfortunately we don't have it on the agenda this week, and we are precluded by state law from responding.
Okay, well.
And you know where I work, my phone number. You have my cell phone number too.
Well, some of the questions are for the sheriff. For example, how many people with mental problems are in the county jail? I think he addressed some of that. And approximately how many are there right now?
And those, again, I'm sorry, Dave,
okay.
We are precluded from state law, or by state law, from responding to anything.
Okay, I'll try to get these put together and give them to Commissioner Wynn.
Yeah, and I really do. I mean, if you'd been here last week, we could have talked about this till the cows came.
Well, we saw the notice in the paper and got together, and they said, hey, we ought to go to this meeting. And they said, well, I got to work and I can't be here. Can you, Dave, you're retired, you can go on over and you take them. You go ahead and take the hit. And,
and last week that would have worked. This week, all we had on the agenda was the budget, and really all we had on there was the tax rate for that. We can talk about the tax rate for the hospital district and for the county, but...
All right, that's one of the questions.
Okay.
How much of an increase can residential property owners expect in property taxes?
Well, in the county, I think we're, I don't know, on the average value of the home, I don't know where you are on that, but I think we actually lowered it by a penny, which was about a 4% decrease.
About 4.5% decrease in the tax rate this year.
Well, I think these folks here are referring to the JPS, though.
JPS kept theirs the same, so depending upon if the average, I think, in the county was like a 9% increase in appraised value. 7%. But that includes the value of new construction. So I would say that on average, it's somewhere less than 7%. And so on our tax...
the appraised value of the appraised value.
Yeah, depending upon what their increase in their appraised value was.
And the reason we cannot decrease the tax rate of JPS is because of the fact that for every dollar that JPS expends to take care of an indigent population potentially on Medicaid, they only get a very small portion of that revenue back from the federal government through the Medicaid program. At best, according to my understanding, it's about 60 cents. So basically, for every dollar JPS provide in terms of healthcare services, they lose 40 cents, about 40% of the revenue. So if we lower the tax rate of JPS, potentially we could bankrupt the organization, and that's the dilemma that I face.
I don't know whether this is an appropriate
Excuse
question or
me,
not,
Dave.
but folks, go ahead.
I don't want to miss the opportunity to say directly that no county taxpayer will experience an increase of taxes in any way that is a result of this bond issue. It is a zero tax increase bond issue, period.
With regards to the bond issue.
Another
Well,
question.
that's what he wanted to talk about, the bond issue.
Do surrounding counties, do they use JPS?
Not supposed to.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
We're talking about, we're kind of getting into the budget part of it. The budget is on our agenda. No, our county budget is on the agenda.
We have the hospital district budget scheduled for next week. We
Okay.
do not have an item on this agenda to talk about the hospital district's budgets.
But we will have it on here next week.
Yes, we will. In fact, we'll have a presentation by JPS next week when they present their annual budget to the court for your review.
So really, all we can say at this point in time with regards to JPS is dealing with their tax rate. And what I could say along the lines of what you asked is they're proposing a no change in their tax rate. That no change in their tax rate will raise more tax dollars. And that raise in tax dollars will then help to fund their budget, as Commissioner Wynn mentioned, and will also begin, to just put us in shape of making sure that we're providing the services as our county continues to grow. Now, next week, if you come back, we can talk about the budget of JPS.
Okay, now, some of these questions relate to it administratively. People don't understand, I don't understand exactly how, and that's why I raised the question, do surrounding counties use JPS? And if they do they reimburse JPS?
See, that's a budget question, and we can't respond to that right now. I'm as frustrated by this as you are.
All right, do they use JPS?
I cannot respond.
That's not a budget question, that's an administrative
It's
question.
a question that's not, but it's not on our agenda, Dave. And that's the thing. Talk with Tony, talk with Bill, talk with the representatives who basically say, if we do that, the DA will put us in the Iron Bar Hotel. I understand you kind of joke, and we all wish that we were joking, but there was a school board in San Antonio that got to spend a little time behind bars because they decided to discuss things that weren't supposed to be discussed.
Okay, tell the folks that.
Well, I hope
Mr.
you will
McAwee,
please give them the whole.
Jenny, can you work with Mr. McAwee? You know Jenny.
And if you'll give the questions to Mr. Manius and Jenny, we'll do everything we can to get those questions answered. We'll interpret your handwriting or call and ask for interpretations. I mean, Dave, I'd love to be able to respond. You'd be up here after me because I was violating the law if I was violating the law. Mr. Manius, is there anything else at this time?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Then we will recess our open meeting, proceed to close to discuss items exempt from order section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. That's very frustrating. He's been here last week. Wait a minute, you're gonna go by. Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.
Thank you.